Talk about desire. I like to say that desire is the heart of intention because we would not intend for something consciously unless we wanted it. So the acknowledgement, the embrace, the appreciation of our genuine desires, which form our genuine intentions, is important. It's really essential. Not that we have to know them specifically, but the feeling of them, the sense of them, the direction of them. And desire, as I use that term in unity consciousness, is literally energy. It is the impulse of love itself to express through us, as us, and the lives that we're living, our creativity. Desire is creativity, it is generosity, it is abundance, it is the sharing of our gifts and talents. As simple and natural as that is, in unity consciousness, many of us have not started out there. We've started out in separation consciousness. We've started to wake up in transformation consciousness. And in transformation consciousness, we begin to acknowledge that we do have the power to create lives that we love. And we understand that desires are therefore important. What we want matters. A key element of our awakening to who we really are. We start beginning to understand that our desires are an expression of who we are. And yet, when we're still coming out of separation consciousness into transformation consciousness, that understanding may be distorted, is often distorted with the beliefs from separation consciousness, beliefs that we have to prove ourselves, beliefs that life is supposed to be hard, beliefs that what we want is separate from who and where we are, and we have to go get it. We have to make things happen. So there's still an element of work and struggle and effort, even in the fourth dimension of consciousness, transformation consciousness. We, in effect, turn our desires into goals. We turn our desires into achievements by which we believe we can measure our worth. But of course, our worth is innate. It is infinite. It is eternal. It cannot be measured. It cannot be proven. We understand that in unity consciousness. In unity consciousness, we're very clear that our desires are an expression of our worthiness. They're an expression of who we uniquely are. And so they matter. And they're not separate from us. It's an energy moving through us. It's an energy guiding us and calling us and opening us to further inspiration and ideas and synchronistic opportunities. So it's all about energy and vibration and this deep inner knowing that we are worthy. We're always and innately worthy of all the good life has to offer. And we become receptive to it as we allow this energy of desire to flow through us. So this is where we're heading. This is where many of us are already living. And still, even those of us that are living there a lot of the time, we can still kind of go back and forth between unity consciousness and transformation consciousness. So I would like to offer a simple word, concept, feeling to help us discern our pure desires, because what can often happen in transformation consciousness is we convince ourselves that we don't really know what we want, or we talk ourselves out of what we want, or we somehow distort what we want to become a goal or an achievement rather than letting it move through us as a desire. And that word, that quality, is innocence. I will say to myself often and to my clients, trust the innocence. Our pure desires are innocent, pure, not contradicted by any doubts or judgments of any kind. And in that purity is great power, because energy uncontradicted, especially the energy of desire, which has all the wisdom, the intelligence, the power, the love of source in it, it carries the seeds, in a way, of manner of speaking, of its own realization. So when we allow our desires to be pure, then we are we begin to bring ourselves into harmony with that purity. So the opportunity here is to discern that purity, to discern that innocence. It feels simple, it feels natural, like the next thing coming up for us to want. And again, it may not be a thing at all, and usually isn't. It's often a feeling state. I want more peace. I want more spaciousness. I want more freedom. It's an acknowledgement of these states of being that we want. It's natural to our experience. So if we've been living complicated lives, we want greater simplicity. If we've been living a cramped life with people stepping all over our priorities because we've let them, we long for greater empowerment and freedom. And if we have talents that we've never yet or haven't fully cultivated, such as writing or singing or art or opening a business, or, the talents run the gamut of all of human endeavor. If we have a sense that we'd love to try something, but we've talked ourselves out of it, well, it's the love of it, right? That is innocent. That feels like fun. That would be fun. Innocence is, it doesn't need to be proven. It's just an energy. Oh, that sounds like fun. I would love to try that. Or I've always wanted to do this. Or I just know I have a book in me. That's innocent. Can you feel the innocence of those recognitions? That's what we're intending for here, is just to recognize the simplicity, the purity, the naturalness of our genuine desires, the naturalness of our genuine desires, and doing our best not to encumber them with analysis and justification and rationalization and turning them into goals. And let me give you an example from my own life, which is the writing of my book, What You Want Wants You, Saying Yes to Desire as a Path of Awakening. By the time I got around to writing that book, and I stopped and started and stopped several times over many years, I was clear that I'm a writer, among other things. I'm a writer, I'm a teacher. This is natural to me. It's natural to who I am. And that naturalness of it, it just wants expression. And so in my prior attempts at writing, I had turned it into a goal. I'd given myself a timetable. I'd put myself on a schedule. And I was not in the flow, I can tell you that. And so by the time What You Want Wants You became obvious that it wanted to be written, I promised myself that not only would I write it, but I honor that very clear impulse. The process of writing would also be one of honoring my natural energy. So what that meant was, rather than putting myself on a schedule or a timetable, I felt for the energy. And when I wanted to write, I wrote. Now, that didn't always mesh with my calendar, but my intention was for that to be in harmony. And whenever I started writing, I would write until I stopped feeling like I was in the flow. If I would lose focus or start to criticize or doubt myself, I would pause, I would step back. And so I just really made a clear commitment. I had a clear intention. My desire was for the experience itself to be satisfying, to be fulfilling. I didn't want to delay my satisfaction until the end when I had a book in my hand. That reinforced the whole idea that it's the book that proves my worthiness, when just the opposite is how it works. Our worthiness is what gives expression to what we create. And I understood that, and I was really committed to living it that way. And I did, for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, the writing of that book was deeply satisfying to me. And I hope the reading of it is deeply satisfying to you. But it really did reinforce for me this understanding that desire itself as an energy is what guides us into our most fulfilling journey of its realization. And I want to add something else here, which is easy to illustrate with something like writing a book, which is the idea of measurement. Because often in transformation consciousness, when we recognize a desire to create something, or we're already in the process of creating things. Perhaps you already have a business where you serve clients or customers or something like that. And the orientation can often be around measuring our success quantitatively and targeting very specific numerical outcomes. What can happen with that, nothing wrong with measure, nothing at all. But I think many of us recognize that what can happen with the measurement is that we become then focused, hyper-focused, attached to measurements and to reaching a specific quantitative goal. And if it's not where we are now we're creating a gap again. We're creating a sense of separation between where we are as we are and what we think we want, which is this number. So the numbers can really muddy things up. They can reinforce the idea that we have to reach a certain level through action or through outcomes and results before we can recognize our talent and our worthiness. And all of that just keeps us swirling and keeps us stuck, frankly, and keeps us in the mode of trying to figure things out in our heads and take actions to get to a certain outcome rather than opening, rather than we become narrowly focused on the number and the goal, and we deprive ourselves of this beautiful energy, this intelligent, wise, loving energy that wants to flow through us and wants to guide us and wants to inspire us and wants to illuminate us and wants to orchestrate lovely opportunities and outcomes through us and for us. Again, the opportunity here is to practice discernment based not on goals and measurements, but on the felt sense of our own energy, the energy of our desire. In unity consciousness, we recognize that the numbers are simply a reflection. They're a reflection back to us of our abundance, of our creativity, of our generosity. Yes, they're a reflection. They don't determine our worthiness or our value. They simply reflect back to us, again, our state of generosity, abundance, or they're totally unrelated to it. Again, we don't give power to numbers in unity consciousness, but we appreciate them for what they can reflect back to us. Back to the idea of innocence. And I'm going to bring this thing with numbers in here as well, which is often those of us on what we would call a spiritual path have recognized the trap of numbers, the trap of measurement. In that recognition, we have determined measurement of any kind or setting quantitative goals to be unhelpful, to be bad in a sense, bad for us, bad for our spiritual growth. For example, I shouldn't want to be a best-selling author. I shouldn't want to sell X number of books because that would be an attachment to the quantity. That would be an attachment to a result. I'm trusting that the results will be wonderful as I maintain my vibration, my harmony with, my resonance with the love that I am and the desires that I have. And that is true. As I've said in one of the previous videos, vibration first, foremost, and always. When we tend to our state of being, our resonance with our love, our desires, that state of being does open us to all kinds of wonderful outcomes. But it doesn't mean numbers and measurements are bad or wrong. They just are what they are. And when we judge ourselves as not being spiritual because we want, say, to sell a lot of books or to have a lot of customers or a lot of clients, well, that's the same thing as any other form of judgment. It's a form of separation. It's not recognizing that we are whole and complete right here and right now. And the desire, I'll say in my example, to be a best-selling author, can you feel the innocence in that? Writers want to have their books read. Singers want to have their songs heard. It's the most natural thing in the world to want to share what we create with others and for that sharing to be received. And we are naturally generous. We like to share generously. We like to receive abundantly in unity consciousness. And the numbers can simply be a reflection of all that. The numbers themselves are neither good or bad. It's how we relate to them. Again, in this example, my simple, innocent, pure desire to be a best-selling author is one for me to honor. It's one for me to appreciate. Now, I know the word best is tricky. It isn't about being better than anyone else. But the label best-selling just means it's reaching a lot of people. And that is what I want. And I'm sure if you're creating things, that's what you want. Again, trust the innocence. It's the most natural thing in the world to want what we genuinely want. When I'm really honest with myself, the desire to be a best-selling author, again, to use this example, does feel very innocent. It feels very innocent. Why wouldn't I want that? The reason I keep emphasizing this, we can intentionally cultivate this beautiful state of being of love and openness and peace and joy and delight and satisfaction in the knowing that that level of that quality of vibration opens us to all good things. But if at some level we're still judging our own innocent natural desires as being somehow inappropriate, that is part of our vibration. That's part of this field of consciousness that we are, and it's interfering with our ability to actually realize the purity of our desires. Does that make sense? So again, we want to honor the innocence. It doesn't mean that our desires won't evolve, they will. But the idea is if we judge what we in this moment innocently want, that judgment itself will interfere with the ability of our expanded selves, of the universe, of source, of our desires. It'll interfere with the ability of that energy to surprise and delight us, to open us to more and more and more of the good that life has to offer. Judgment of any kind, at any time, in any form, will never, ever get us where we want to go. I leave you with this idea of trusting the innocence of your pure, heartfelt desires. Feel for the innocence. Just feel for it. See if you can recognize that's natural. It's natural for me to want this. It's natural for me to want this. And in the acknowledgement of it, you free yourself. You open yourself. You elevate your vibration to a place that's in harmony with purity, with innocence, and with the creative power that goes along with all of that.